We are back once again, and we are better than ever. Right here on Philadelphia 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Jake Chipper on the ones and twos, and we have Sixers fans rocking and rolling with us from every pocket of America and worldwide. Why is that? Because you're all real ones. You're the best. And it's day 4 of NBA free agency, and there is a lot to talk about with this basketball team that has been extremely active to start off free agency. A lot to get into during our live show here today. We are waiting for people to get that notification. They'll pile in, and then we'll start talking some hoops. First, let's get the comment section going here. I want you to shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from. One of our favorite things to do here at Chat Sports, because it gives us an opportunity to see where you are with all of our loyal viewers who have been supporting us, helping us go on this historic stretch here on 76ers Now, because we have not had a heater of a week like this before, and it's been awesome to see as somebody who grew up in the Philadelphia area, lifelong Sixers fan myself, and then Jake Chipper, the same thing, growing up in Bucks County. I'm from Chester County, and the Sixers, one of the more exciting teams in the NBA throughout this offseason, and with the additions that they have made on this roster, you feel as though the fan base starting to get pumped up with what this team is doing, and it's been a long time since we could say that. Jay is in Lancaster. That's awesome. My mom went to J.P. McCaskey High School. Still have family there. My grandma is closing in on 100 years old, so I always go to visit her at Lancaster. Diomedes, tuned in from the Philippines. Taekwon Young, New York. Mechanicsburg from Angel. Stone Mountain, Georgia from Gregory. Brooklyn, New York from T. Roy Woodfin. Melbourne, Australia. G'day, mate. Northern New Jersey, greatest of all time. Ohio from Time in the Buckeye, one of our Chat Sports legends. B-Doc is here. I like turtles, originally from Syracuse, New York. Brisbane, Australia, from Home Dog 76. We always love our Aussies because my pops grew up in Melbourne, Australia. Donald Rohn, Philadelphia. How about this? A fan since the 60s. How about everybody types DR for Donald Rohn down in the chat? A Sixers fan since the 60s. So he saw some lean years. Wilt Chamberlain up until the 80s when the Sixers were winning championships, and then he saw the era of Allen Iverson, now the current era of Joel Embiid. Love to see the support there for DR. Peter Thurman, how about this? Home Depot in Delco, yo! Greatest of all time, typing that DR too. Daniel saying since 1965, that is some good stuff right there. So over the night, not as late or early as the Paul George signing, there was some more Sixers news that we did bring you right here on the channel, and a pretty funny story. I was knocked out. We have had a very long week. We have worked some very long hours, and I had to get up at 6 a.m. for a workout class this morning, so I just passed out at 10, and I didn't even know that I fell asleep. I woke up this morning, slept past my alarm, and I look at my YouTube app, and I'm like, what is this Buddy Hield video that Chip did late last night? And then I saw the tweet from Shams, this one right here. The Golden State Warriors are in serious talks on a sign-and-trade deal to acquire Buddy Hield. Warriors and the 76ers have been in deep discussions working to finalize the deal for one of the NBA's best three-point shooters. Now, we bring that up once again, even though we're far removed from that report last night, because that deal has not been finalized. As soon as it is, we will bring you the latest details right here on 76ers Now. But, Chip, what were you doing last night when this news broke? Because you got in front of the camera, you did a video, 30,000 people watched, no big deal.
Yeah, I was just chilling in my apartment, on the phone with my girlfriend, Allie, just hanging out before bed, getting ready for bed. And I see this notification, I'm like, whoa.
Not something we expected.
Not something we expected. Yeah. We haven't been hearing anything about Buddy Hield at all. Really just kind of figured the Sixers wouldn't bring him back and he'd sign elsewhere. But we get this notification. Like, we had to do a video here. Now, no deal has happened yet. If this falls through, it's still very possible. Apparently the holdup right now is the Warriors and Buddy Hield need to come to terms on the financials of what he's going to be signing for.
Warriors are very tight on the cap.
Yeah, numbers are very tight, and this is a very confusing deal because, again, the Warriors are very, very tight on cap. The Sixers have some very confusing in particular cap situations that we'll talk about on the show today that they have to manage and deal with relating to these new NBA aprons and CBA, and it's all a lot to take care of. But we'll try to explain it to you. But so it's very intricate. They're saying that this deal could turn into a 5-team trade.
Yep.
So a lot to sort of work out here. I'm sure, it's probably going to take a few days. Maybe the teams will sort of take a little bit of a break over July 4th, reconvene after that, and try to come to terms. But Buddy Hield sounds like he's going to be going to the Warriors. We have no idea what the Sixers are going to get back. Seems like it could be maybe some second-round picks.
Luis Santos was being talked about.
Yeah, Luis Santos, because he could be absorbed into the Sixers' existing salary cap, meaning he could be traded right away as opposed to having to wait 6 months or until January of next year to trade him. So a lot to take in, but again, whenever we get the details, we will let all of you know, but nothing as of right now.
Basically, a lot of teams in the NBA are very scared about the second apron as part of the new collective bargaining agreement, which I think is a terrible agreement. I just want to be a basketball fan. I want to talk about the NBA. I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers without having to worry about being a lawyer or being an accountant. And if teams go into that second apron, you have to be really positive that you love your roster, because if you go into that second apron, you pretty much can't make any moves, whether it be trades or signings. It affects draft capital. It's very, very messy. And for the Golden State Warriors, they just don't have a lot of money. So the Sixers really are a team that's trying to help them facilitate a deal. I would imagine Buddy Hield would like to go to the Golden State Warriors. I think he'd be a really good fit alongside Steph Curry after Klay Thompson signed with the Dallas Mavericks as part of a sign-in trade, as the Warriors may be pulling off a couple of sign-in trades here. But as soon as we know that information, we'll, of course, pass that along. I see a lot of people in the chat right now who have been supporting us every single day this week. Let's do a real one roll call. A real one. What is a real one? If you're subscribed to the channel, you really like what we do, you've been here with us on 76ers Now, real one roll call. Type real one in the chat if you're a big supporter of us here on 76ers Now. Angela G getting us going. She just got some clean cancer scans back. That's excellent news. Israel typing real one. Brian Doherty, real one. Godspeed, J, Sirs, A, Delano, Clive, Elephant in the Room, Giordano Molina, Diamedes, Raymond, Donald Roan, Gregory, Iron Mike, Pat Woolard, T-Roy Woodfin, Time in the Buckeye, Eric Volpe, Arthur Brown, Humble Home, Jacob Beauchamp, Daniel, I like turtles. I like turtles. Time in the Buckeye again. Angel Gonzalez, continue to type real one. And I also want everybody right now to please make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. 330 people watching live, and we haven't even started the show yet. We're about to start the show officially, so we want as many likes as possible. Therefore, more people will come in and join us. Sixers Summer League roster has been announced, and there's a couple of intriguing players on this list, a couple of familiar faces, whether it be players who used to play for Philadelphia, and of course, Jared McCain and Adem Bona. Some notable players here. Tony Bradley, who played for this team a couple of years ago. You have R.J. Hampton, a former first-round pick. Romeo Langford, who a lot of people liked when he was entering the league. Jared McCain, Adem Bona, Jordan Tucker, Jalen Sims, Justin Powell. A couple of really solid players and intriguing players on the Sixers Summer League roster. Chip, I don't know about you. A couple of summers ago, at least several summers ago at this point, took a trip to Las Vegas, able to watch the NBA Summer League. It's a cool experience when some of the top-tier rookies are playing. As somebody who talks about the Sixers and the NBA for a living, it's also really fun to watch Summer League because you get to start to scout some of these players to see what they can bring to the table. Last night, I'm sitting at the crib watching the Philadelphia Phillies. I turn on some Jared McCain highlights. I'm all in on the kid. Quick release, can score from anywhere, really crafty with how he finishes 15 feet and in, and he's able to hit some contested shots. So I'm pumped up about that. What are you pumped up for Summer League?
Yeah, I love watching Summer League, man. Getting to see the young guys play. We saw players like Terquavion Smith last year have a very good summer league. So
Justin Edwards, another one I'm excited
Justin
about.
Edwards going to be very exciting to watch, as well as Ricky Council. I'm very excited to watch Ricky Council in this summer league. A second-year player now who has a year under his belt playing against NBA talent. I'd love to see him really step out in this summer league roster and be their standout player. Someone that can prove that he deserves real minutes in this Sixers rotation. So I'd love to see him dominate in this summer league. Obviously going to be excited to watch all the rookies, Jared McCain, Adam Bona, Justin Edwards, some of the undrafted guys as well, Max Fiedler. So should be a fun team. They're going to be playing in Salt Lake as well as in Vegas.
Yep.
Salt Lake, I believe, is just next week. Starts on Monday.
This is the Salt League Summer League roster only as of right now, so it will change once they pivot and shift gears to Vegas.
But going to be exciting, man. Summer League's always fun to watch. If you haven't watched Summer League before, check it out. Because, a lot of these guys are auditioning, obviously not just for the Sixers, for other teams as well. Even Jeff Doughton, who the Sixers declined his team option, is going to be playing for the Sixers. So a lot of guys to check out. Obviously, you're going to want to watch Jared McCain. So, yeah, solid roster. Excited for it.
Yeah, some people are asking about the bigs on the team. Adam Bona, of course. Tony Bradley. I think that Ricky Council can play a little bit of 4. Justin Edwards, more of a wing. So those are kind of the bigs on the team. And then again, a little bit fluid. Things can change as the Sixers go to Vegas and they make some tweaks to their roster. We're closing in on 400 people watching live. Please make sure you continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. It's a easy way and a great way to support us for free. As for our Super Chat menu, I have a drink right here that is ready to get cracked. Happy Dad. Not a sponsor, but they should be. And the first person to send in the Super Chat of any value, I'm cracking this drink. It's a wacky Wednesday, right on the eve of 4th of July. Let's have fun. 4th of July, 1776, Philadelphia, America's birthplace, 76ers, let's go. $5 is a beer cheers, $10 for a wheel spin, $20 a chip shot, and $50 a beer bong or a shotgun. That right there is our Super Chat menu. If you want to donate to the show, we'll have some fun. I saw Joe Casey in the chat a little bit earlier. He was one of the Super Chat MVPs of our 10-hour live stream deep into the morning on Monday from Sunday as we awaited the signing of Paul George. If you're ready to start the show and talk some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers, some 10, 9, 8, 76ers, I need you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Our views have been incredible. Our live show numbers have been incredible as well, outside of just the live content that we've been doing. A lot of videos on demand, and those have been taken off. Subscriber numbers picking up like crazy. Angela G, a $2 super chat. I'm watching Mackenzie. Why not a wacky chat? Let's get wacky on a Wednesday. Cracking a drink for Angela, whose scans came back. Cheers to that. Clean.
Much love, Angela. Much love.
B-Doc said he's at your house and my house. B-Doc, get the drinks ready, my man. Get the drinks ready. Basketball man, dude, I love the Eagles. Did you know that me and Chip run Philadelphia Eagles now by Chat Sports? The largest independently run Eagles channel right here on YouTube, closing in on 77,000 subscribers. Look, this year, trying to get that silver plaque from YouTube, 100,000 subscribers. That would mean I'm the host of 2 shows with 100K. Really trying to get there, so go over there, subscribe to that channel if you like the birds as well. Okay, we are going to start off today's 76ers Now Live with the rumors roundup, looking at some players who the Sixers are interested in. It includes Caleb Martin, Marcus Morris, Haywood Highsmith, and Reggie Bullock. That is coming up right now. And then segment number 2, vet minimum targets, including some intriguing names like my guy Dario Saric. All right, Philadelphia 76ers Now Live gets underway officially right now. Let's get it, let's run it, and let's talk some hoops. Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now, right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. In a little while, you're going to hear from producer Chip, And coming up on today's show, a rumors roundup here on day 4 of NBA free agency because Daryl Morey is not done filling out this roster. The 76ers, according to reports, are interested in these players right here, and some of them fulfill big needs on this Sixers roster. Caleb Martin, formerly of the Miami Heat, Marcus Morris, who last played for the Cleveland Cavaliers and played for the Sixers following the James Harden trade, Haywood Highsmith, who was a Sixers process legend several years ago, and then Reggie Bullock, a 3-and-D wing who could be a decent vet-min depth piece. Make sure you subscribe to the channel before we talk about those players. We're approaching 18,000 subscribers. We've embarked on the most historic run in the history of this program, which launched in 2021. All the support that we've gotten has been incredible. The views have been impeccable, and the subscribers have really gathered momentum and picked up steam. So make sure you hit that sub button if you like the show. What we try to do every day is give you insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking Sixers content that involves you, the fan. Let's start off here with talking about Caleb Martin. Decided to not opt into his contract with the Miami Heat. He was an opt-out because he thought as though if he hit the free agency market, number one, he was going to have suitors, and potentially number two, he was going to have an opportunity to make some more money. Was really good for the Miami Heat in the playoffs 2 years ago, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics. Cooled off a little bit in the NBA Finals, but you got a glimpse of what he's capable of at that wing spot for a player who is crafty in getting to the rim, can knock down the three, and is a good defender at that size of 6'5", 205. Here's what Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald said about Martin. The 76ers have had discussions with Heat free agent Caleb Martin as they scan the free agency market for options to fill their roster, according to a league source. A lot of it is going to come down to the price tag for Caleb Martin. I think a team out there would be willing and able to pay him between $10 to $13 million per year. Right now, Philadelphia is a little bit tight on cash, where if they give him that much money, they won't be able to fill out the rest of their team. You look at his numbers over the last 4 years. His best shooting campaign came in 2021-2022 when he averaged 9 points on 50.7% shooting, 41% from three. The three-point numbers have gone down the last 2 years. I think he's a better three-point knockdown shooter than 35%, which is what he shot last year as he was a little bit hot and cold, maybe pressing a little bit, looking to get that new deal. I think that he can hover between 37 and 40%. The big thing with him, the shot making when he's on, and the defense, which is always a constant. Chip, Caleb Martin, interesting player here, a part of that Heat culture. He's been in a lot of big playoff games, played in some huge NCAA tournament games alongside his brother back several years ago for Nevada. What do you think about Caleb Martin and his potential fit with the Sixers?
Yeah, and that playoff experience is exactly why I like the idea of adding Caleb Martin. We saw in that run that he made to the finals. I mean, he was tremendous in that playoff run, just knocking down shots left and right, sort of had an out-of-body experience, and the hope for a lot of Heat fans was that would carry into this past season, and it really didn't. He kind of took a little bit of a step back, wasn't able to demand as much of an offensive load as he was during that playoff run, but still a solid player nonetheless. Now, I'm not sure if Caleb Martin fulfills the Sixers' need at starting four because he is only 6'5", 6'6", and isn't going to be that big rebounder that maybe some Sixers fans would hope at that four position. He's more of a three, in my opinion, because again, he doesn't have that height, and he's not going to, be a crazy rebounder. I think he'd be a great first man off the bench, wing defender off the bench that could certainly play in closing lineups, depending on the matchups and who you're playing. Will be a little more pricey than some of the other people on this list. So Sixers about $9-10 million left in salary cap space, so that could be like their last move they make before signing some other vet min targets. So keep an eye on Caleb Martin again. Some solid seasons with the Heat. Could hopefully get that three-point number back up. And who knows? Could be solid for the Sixers in the playoffs.
Yeah, a couple of things with him, too. Additionally, he could go to a team where he could start. He's not going to start for Philadelphia. He could go to a team to make some more money, which he might not be able to do with Philadelphia. He could return to the Miami Heat. Now, the Miami Heat signing Alec Burks, does that signal the end of needing a scorer like Caleb Martin? We'll certainly see. Player number 2 who we want to talk about here on the show is a former short-time Sixer, Philadelphia native, went to prep charter, Kansas legend, been in the NBA for a long time. He's now already in his mid-30s. Time has flown, I'll tell you that. Marcus Morris Sr., and we know what he can bring to the table. I thought with Philadelphia after the James Harden trade, when he was thrust into the lineup, when he actually played, especially when some injuries happened, hit some big shots. He played okay. This could be the 4-man for Philadelphia. It's not ideal to have an older player starting on this team with championship aspirations. You ideally want to bring him in off the bench, but it's part of the predicament that the Sixers are in here because, as Chip said, they don't have a lot of cap space. Keith Pompey, Philadelphia Inquirer, saying this, according to sources, Sixers have expressed interest in bringing back Philly native Marcus Morris Sr. And he's played good ball in recent years. He's played good ball on some solid Clippers teams, as evidenced by the numbers here, 13, 15, 11 points per game. This past year, though, just didn't see as much time as seasons prior. Has the mid-range, can knock down the three. You know he's always going to be North Philly tough. He'll get in your grill and defend you. He's not the player, obviously, that he once was in his prime, but this is a player, Chip, who you can get on the vet min, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And ideally, I think, again, this is a player that you wouldn't want to start, but he was solid for Philadelphia. And obviously, he's going to bring that, Philly toughness, that mentality. The fans love him. He knows what it's like to play here, of course. So, if you sign somebody else, like a Caleb Martin, that you need a backup for, I wouldn't mind Morris at all. He's going to get his shots up, hopefully be efficient when he does take those shots. It's tough, so can play a little bit of defense. Not the most laterally quick player and not a, big player that's going to really defend at the rim or grab too many rebounds as well. But when it comes to solid depth pieces that championship teams need as they're making those runs, that 8th, 9th, 10th guy off the bench, Marcus Morris could certainly fill that role, familiar with the city. For Vetman, 100% I'd love to bring in Marcus Morris.
So we've talked about Marcus Morris. We talked about Caleb Martin. Next up on the show, we want to talk about, I'm not going to call him like an outright 76ers process legend. And when I say legend, I say that tongue-in-cheek, obviously sarcastically. But Haywood Highsmith went to Wheeling University. Okay, not a basketball powerhouse by any means, and a lot of people are aware of his story. He played for the Delaware Bluecoats in 2018-2019, and then a couple of games with the 76ers in 2019. Depending on how you look at the timeline of the process, you can look at that as the end of the process, depending on when you think it ended. For me, it's kind of in the early portion of the process. It's post Sam Hinkie, but that's when the Sixers started to win and pick up steam, and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were kind of established players at that point. But Haywood Highsmith, he was around all the way back then and played over the last couple of years with the Miami Heat since 2021. Keith Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer, once again, with the reporting on this front, the Sixers have been in discussions with Miami Heat free agent and former Sixer Haywood Highsmith as a free agent option. He would probably get 10 to 15 minutes per night on the Sixers team, and maybe 10 to 15 minutes is a little bit too much. Now, when Jimmy Butler did get hurt in the NBA playoffs or in the NBA play-in tournament, when Kelly Oubre injured his knee by accident, and then he missed that first-round series against Boston, Haywood Highsmith was thrust into the lineup by Eric Spoelstra. He saw some decent time in that one game that the Heat won when they shot the lights out in that first-round series against Boston. Haywood Highsmith able to hit a couple of big shots in that ball game. 6 points per game last year, 3 rebounds, 46.5% from the field, almost 40% from three-point range. But what's the theme of today's show, and what's the theme right now and moving forward for the 76ers free agency period? When you're paying max contracts to 3 different players, and Daryl Morey does have a 3-star theory where the more stars that you have, the better opportunity you have to win a championship. But Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, they're all making maxes. So realistically, you just don't have a lot of money left to fill out the rest of your team. You want to avoid the restrictions of that second apron, which is why you're looking at players of this level. And honestly, Caleb Martin might be too expensive for Philadelphia because of the quality of player that he is.
Yeah, and Haywood Highsmith has come a long way since he started his career with the Sixers. Really developed into a solid off-ball, stand in the corner, 3-point shooter, and he plays very solid defense. I think, much better than Marcus Morris is going to play. Caleb Martin's a good defender as well, but Haywood Highsmith's going to cost way less than a player like Caleb Martin. And coming off the bench, again, for the Heat, been a pretty dependable role player. Going to always play solid defense and going to be able to catch and shoot off that three-point shot. He's another guy that, again, you get close to that, first apron, close to that salary cap space. You need vet mins. Could he be a vet min guy? He might demand a little bit more than that because of what he showed for the Heat last year. But again, Sixers with about $9 million in cap space, so you shell out $5 million over a couple years to Haywood Highsmith. Going to be a tough player, going to defend, be physical. So Haywood Highsmith, Sixers obviously interested in him, so keep an eye on him and these other guys as well. Over the next couple of days, I expect they sign one of these four that we'll talk about here.
And then finally, a couple of years ago, I was a fan of Reggie Bullock. I thought he did a good job of being a stickler on the defensive end of the floor, knocking down some threes when he was playing alongside Luka Doncic. I thought he was a good fit on that team because he fit in well, given the roster construction there. He hovered around the three-point arc, and he could knock down that three ball, give you some solid defense. He did play for the Houston Rockets last year and barely played. Only 44 games with 0 starts. He only got 9.5 minutes per. He's looking to continue his NBA career. I'm not sure how much gas he has left in the tank after a couple of several years there and trying to really earn his way on some NBA rosters, and then he became a really good rotation player and a starter for a couple of teams. Kelly Iko saying that Rockets wing Reggie Bullock is unlikely to return to Houston. Multiple playoff teams have expressed interest in the veteran sharpshooter. Bullock has met with the Suns, Nuggets, Clippers, and 76ers so far. So that's a meeting that we know about, more expected in the coming days. What you always want to look at for Reggie Bullock, what are the three-point numbers? Because outside of Chuck and the triple, he's not really going to give you much outside of that. 2020, 2021, 41% from three with the New York Knicks. He goes to the Mavericks. 36% and 38% in the 2 years there where he's playing a lot of games. And then last year, seldom used by Houston. Does he have something left in the tank here, Chip? Can he contribute to this team? It would be a player with size who can defend, who can knock down the three for Philadelphia.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be honest. I think Reggie Bullock, if you sign him, wouldn't really crack the rotation. He's definitely a vet min target here. And a pretty typical Daryl Morey signing, a veteran who's getting up there in age, has shown the ability to shoot the three. He could come in spurts, give you 4 or 5 minutes here and there, and hopefully be able to knock down some threes. But getting up there in age doesn't give you anything else outside of that three-point shot. So, it makes sense as a vet min signing, last guy on your roster type of thing, but not a player I would expect to really make much of an impact for the Sixers if they were to go out and sign him.
Godspeed in the comment section during our live show saying, Reggie Bullock is Daniel House without handles, hard pass. Honestly, it's not a bad depiction of who he is at this point. We talked about 4 players on today's show. Now it's time for you to get into the comment section and pick one who you want the Sixers to sign. Who do you like the most here? Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, Marcus Morris, Reggie Bullock. As you venture down to the comment section, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 20,000 subscribers ASAP. Good stuff there for segment number 1. Nearly 600 people watching live. For those of you just joining the show, we're only ramping up. Segment number 2 is about to get underway, coming up just around the corner. And we're going to take a look at some vet min targets, who the Sixers can also sign. Here's our Super Chat menu. We've had 1 Super Chat so far today, and because of that, I was able to take a drink. Any Super Chat gets a shout out. $5, beer cheers. $10, we'll spin the wheel. $20, Chip will take a shot. $50 Super Chat, I'll do a beer bong or a shotgun, and I'll let you choose what you want me to do. Recent Commenter Club, Donald Rome, Alex, Clive Johnson, Godspeed, John Garcia, Eric Volpe, Danks 9000, Presidential Mike, JL Chambo, Mac, Jonathan G, Alex, DHF, Basketball Man, said he really likes the show. Awesome stuff. Justin Fowler said Shams bomb. I did not see a Shams bomb.
No, I think someone's making stuff up here in the chat.
Yeah, I don't see any tweet noties here from Shams.
Someone tried saying that the Warriors traded Wiggins to the Nets for Simmons. That did not happen. I also want to address this from Donald Rowan, a good question here. So if the Sixers have $9 million cap right now, approximately, how much would they have if they move B-Ball Paul? So if they cut him, they'd save the most money, obviously. He's making 7.7, so they have about $16 million open there to sign somebody if they like. So, maybe if they think Caleb Martin is that missing piece and he's demanding 12, 13 million, then you just simply cut ties with Paul Reed and sign Caleb Martin. Other than that, you could also, of course, include Paul Reed in the trade. But as we're going to talk about here on this segment, there's some tricky cap situations that the Sixers are going to have to manage with their first apron. They don't want to trade Paul Reed straight up for somebody making more money than him, because that will restrict the Sixers what they can do this season, even all the way up to the trade deadline of this upcoming season. So explain in further detail here in the segment, but I don't expect, the Sixers can't just trade Paul Reed and some picks for Dorian Finney-Smith. It's not smart. It would hard cap them at the first apron and really limit what they can do. And they don't have enough money just to send picks for Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, if you straight up just cut Paul Reed, then you could just trade picks for Dorian Finney-Smith. It is an option. There's some tricky stuff you could do with KJ Martin, paying him $20 million a year potentially and moving him at the deadline, but we'll talk about all that coming up.
Yep, so stick around. I'm excited for this segment because I've seen a lot of people who have dropped some player names down in the comment section. Can the Sixers sign this player or that player? And a couple of those names are going to be on this next show here as some potential Sixers free agent targets, one of which we've talked about a lot from my standpoint. I'd love to see Philadelphia sign Dario Saric and bring him back. It would be a cool story. I think he's a good fit. He's a 4 who can stretch, knock down the 3. He can play make a little bit as a big. He's a willing defender who's going to put forward effort there. He's played in a lot of big games, both at the NBA level and then internationally with Team Croatia. So I think that would be a great signing for the Sixers. He didn't sign until later on in free agency last year with the Golden State Warriors. So still out there, still available. Nearly 500 people watching live, 21 likes away from 200. Be sure to continue to hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video here on the show as we round out the program, or as some people say, program, by taking a look at some vet min free agency targets. What is up? Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now. I am Chase Sr. Thank you so much for being here. And coming your way on today's show, vet min free agent targets for Philadelphia. Because the Sixers are paying Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George max contracts, Daryl Morey and this front office have to get creative with how they build out the rest of their roster. And hopefully Daryl Morey watches this show because we got creative by taking a look at some affordable free agent targets who the Sixers can add to this team. Let's pop up today's poll question before we take a look at that list. What say you? What is the Sixers' biggest need right now with the roster constituted the way that it is? Let me know down in the comment section. For me, it's the starting power forward, which we still don't know who's going to be this starting 4. Let's first bring on producer Chip as well. He is our 76ers Now version of Bobby Marks. Does a great job of monitoring the cap and understands the cap rules very, very well. And this really sets the foundation, sets the table, and then gives us the runway as a launching pad to take a look at these vet min targets. Explain to everybody what the 76ers cap situation is right now, how much money they have, and then some of the moves that could take place to clear up some cash.
Right, so there's some very intricate details that, because of the new CBA that the NBA signed that deal with the first and second apron, the Sixers have to be very mindful how they spend their money. So right now, Sixers came in free agency with about $60 million. Their order of operations in terms of how they sign their free agents will go like this. They'll sign Paul George and Andre Drummond using their available open cap space. That'll leave them with about $9 million in cap space remaining. They'll spend the rest of that, and then they'll use the mid-level exception, $8 million exception, to sign Kelly Oubre. Then they'll sign their vet min targets, because then they'll be out of cap space, but they can use vet min exceptions to sign vet min targets like Eric Gordon. That's how he'll be signed. And then they will sign Tyrese Maxey officially to that extension, and that's going to leave them right up against that first apron, which could cause issues for the Sixers because there are certain moves the Sixers could make right now, such as trading Paul Reed for Dorian Finney-Smith, that would hard cap them at the first apron, meaning that all the way through this upcoming season, they would not be allowed to go over that first apron, no matter what. So you got to be careful. There's a couple things that could trigger the hard cap at that first apron. If you sign and trade, if you acquire a player via sign and trade, or if you take back more salary than you give out in a trade. Because theoretically, the Sixers could trade Paul Reed and some picks for Dorian Finney-Smith and fit him in the cap space. But because Dorian Finney-Smith is making more money than Paul Reed, that would trigger that hard cap at the first apron. And the Sixers do not want to be in that position. So how do they work around that position? There's really one thing they could do, which is very, very interesting. Two things. They could either just cut Paul Reed, open up enough money to bring Dorian Finney-Smith into their existing salary cap space, or something interesting to keep an eye on. Because they have the bird rights on KJ Martin, and his cap hold is so low, it's only accounting for about $2 million against the cap right now, they can use that to their advantage to re-sign KJ Martin to a deal worth up to $20 million. I know it sounds crazy, but they could re-sign him for up to $20 million for a few years. They would only have to guarantee the first year of that deal. And then come January, I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
They could then trade KJ Martin, who's making $20 million, for a player like Dorian Finney-Smith, and they wouldn't run into the problem of being hard capped at that first apron because he'd be making more than Dorian Finney-Smith or another player they'd like to trade for that's making under $20 million. So again, things could change depending what they get back on the Buddy Hield front, but the new CBA, again, really limits what you can do. The Sixers do not want to be limited come trade deadline at being able to go over that first apron if necessary. And Daryl Morey always says it's about how you go into the playoffs, the roster you go into the playoffs with, not necessarily the roster you start with. So keep an eye on all that. Again, some very intricate details with the aprons here. Had to let you guys know, keep you updated, because the Dorian Finney-Smith thing might not happen now, might happen later. So just so you know, keep that in mind.
Clap it up for Chip right there. That's good stuff to really get us started. And now, let's take a look at our Vetmin targets. I have talked about Dario Saric a couple of times here on the show. The Sam Hinkie draft and stash from several years ago where Philadelphia drafted him. He was in Croatia. He came over to America, played at the NBA level. His arrival was a much-awaited arrival, and he became a fan favorite for a lot of people because of the grit, because of the toughness, because the Sixers started to win back early during the early portions of that Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons era, and Dario Saric was a part of that. Now, he was traded away in that Jimmy Butler trade in 2019, but the reason why I'd like Saric back with Philadelphia here, he's a big who can play the 4 or 5. He's very versatile in what positions he can play. He's comfortable playing on the low block, around the perimeter. He can knock down the 3 at a really high level. He can guard and is a willing defender. He has played in a bunch of big games at the NBA level and internationally. 6'10", 225, that's really good size. And I also like the fit as the starting 4 next to Joel Embiid. I also like his passing ability. When you talk about his fundamentals, they are very fine-tuned. And some people have tried to tell me Dario Saric is washed. He's not good any longer. Look, he's 30 years old. He's currently playing for Croatia. He nearly dropped the triple-double against Team Slovenia and Luka Doncic the other day in the lead-up to the Olympics. And I still think Dario Saric can play. Last year for the Warriors, he averaged 8 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, nearly 47% from the field, and almost 38% from 3. Year before that, with Phoenix and OKC, hit nearly 39% of his three-point shots. Year before that, almost 35, and before that, nearly 36. So if he could be at that 37, 38% number from distance, I think that he'd be a really good fit on the Sixers team to serve a couple of different roles, and he'd fit in really nicely at that 4 spot, which is the biggest remaining need on the Sixers team. And of course, the story of him coming back would obviously be pretty exciting as well. And he's far removed from that torn ACL that he suffered with Phoenix during the NBA Finals run. Precious Achiuwa is Vetmin target number 2. He is not the shooter that Dario Saric is. He's not going to stretch the floor like Saric. He would more so, I think, be a backup for the Sixers team, and this would probably signal that you move on from Paul Reed. You are not going to have B-Ball Paul and Precious Achiuwa on the same squad. They're both lengthy. They're both athletic. I wish that Paul Reed would shoot the three more willingly like he did at the G League level. Occasionally, Achua will knock down the corner three, but he's mostly going to be an athlete who can run the floor well, be a lob threat, play the 4, play the 5 as a small ball 5. And I think he's a pretty solid player as a depth piece. I'm interested to see what his market is going to be. Last year with Toronto and New York, 7.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, nearly a block per night, 50.1% from the field. And we saw once Mitchell Robinson got hurt for the Knicks in that first round series, Tom Thibodeau turned to Achua, and I thought he held up well. He held his own in guarding Joel Embiid and just being on the floor. In fact, I thought Thibodeau could have gone to him a little bit more. Lonnie Walker is Vetman target number 3, the product of Reading, Pennsylvania, who then played his college ball at Miami. I'd say that so far in his NBA career, he hasn't lived up to some of the lofty expectations that he had as a first-round pick, but you do need to fill out your bench as far as your backup guard play goes, and I have seen some solid stretches of play from Lonnie Walker. I do have to give him credit because he needed to improve his three-point shot, and he's improved his three-point shot. His numbers over the last 2 years have gotten a lot better from long range. 2 years ago with the Lakers, almost 12 points per game. He came up clutch in that second round series against the Golden State Warriors as a playmaker who was able to score from all 3 levels and give the Lakers some athleticism coming in off the pine. And then last year with Brooklyn, almost 10 points per game, and he hit about 38% of his shots. Lonnie Walker is still only 25 years old, and while he may have not living up to the expectations of being that 18th overall pick back in the 2018 draft, I still think there's a player in there who could continue this ascent as a solid three-point shooter and a solid athlete who could be a backup and fill out this bench. Justin Holiday is coming in at number 4 on our list of vet min free agent targets. Not used a lot with the Denver Nuggets this past year. There were times in which he got some playing time. On this team, he might get more playing time than he did on Denver, and that's just a byproduct of the Sixers being a little bit thin because they're paying 3 players 3 max slots. A couple of years ago, the production was a little bit better for Sacramento and Indiana. 2020, 2021, 72 games played with the Pacers. He averaged 10.5 points per game, 41% from the field, 38% from 3. That'll play. Following year, 10 points per game, almost 37% from 3. Last 2 years with Denver and Atlanta, though, just not used as much. He did play 9 games with the 76ers all the way back in 2012 and 2013. He is the brother of Drew Holiday. And then there is Lamar Stevens checking in here at number 5. A lot of people probably familiar with this name because he's been around for a couple of years, but he also went to the Haverford School in Pennsylvania, in addition to Roman Catholic, and then he played his college ball at Penn State. 6'6", 230 last year for the Grizzlies, 7 points per game, 3+ rebounds, hit 45% of his shots. It's taken him a little while to get going. Made his NBA debut December 27th of 2020, but as a bench player for the Sixers, as that kind of wing position spot, you could do worse, and he's just not going to cost all that much money. And again, affordability is what's big here for the Sixers. There's been some growth in his game, I think, and with that growth, there's been a little bit of confidence as well. He started his career with Cleveland, then he played for Boston, then he played for Memphis. And last year with Memphis, that was really the best year of his career, and it wasn't even really close. He only did play a few games, though. Chip, 5 vet-min targets for the Sixers. Who do you like on that list?
Obviously, I like Dario Saric a lot. I think he's very versatile in his skill set. He can offer the Sixers a lot of different things and would fit well, either playing that backup 5, playing that 4 role. He's going to be able to give you that floor spacing, a little bit of playmaking, can handle the ball a little bit. It would just give the Sixers another player with a variety of skill sets, which, you got to have your specialist, and that's fine, like an Eric Gordon who's just going to shoot the rock. But I feel like you need players sometimes who can do a little bit of everything, and that's Dario Saric. I like Precious Achiuwa a lot as well because He's going to hustle. He's going to play hard. He's going to rebound the ball. He has an expanding offensive game. If he ever does get a reliable corner three, which has been very inconsistent up to this point in his career, he could be a very solid player, and he's still pretty young as well. And keep in mind, when we're talking about these guys, they're all vet min targets. So you might look at all these guys and say, oh, well, these, why would I want to sign X player? Why would I want to sign Y player? These are vet min guys. You're not spending anything on these players. You are bringing them in and hoping that they can contribute at the end of your bench. Maybe in some cases, a spot start. I like the idea of Justin Holiday a little bit as well because he's long and lengthy. Could be a good defender. Does he have anything left in the tank at this point? We will see. But look, Sixers are going to have to make at least a couple more vet min signings as they look to fill out that roster because they've already spent so much money and don't have a full roster yet, don't have too many players on the roster. So, again, keep an eye on some of these guys as these vet min targets. And I'm sure, as we move forward in the next couple days or so, we'll start to see the Sixers connected to some more players. And, of course, we'll keep you updated when we get that information.
And some people are in the comment section saying Justin Holiday signed back with the Denver Nuggets. I know that's been reported on. We haven't seen anything official. His other brother, Aaron Holiday, did re-sign with the Houston Rockets, but we'll, of course, continue to keep tabs on that. So those are 5 players right there. Name a free agent the 76ers should sign. It could be a player who we did talk about, a player who we are missing. A lot of people talking about Sadiq Bey in the comment section as well. Maybe we'll hit on him a little bit later this week. All right, good stuff. Got up to almost 700 people watching live during that segment. I don't understand the Dario Saric slander here. Some people are saying he's never been good. I completely disagree. Some people saying he's only been good overseas. He's good overseas, and he's been a productive NBA player. So much of this is about fit. It's about culture. What do the Sixers need right now? They need a power forward. And Dario Saric can play the power forward spot.
Yeah, Justin Holiday, I don't believe has been signed. Yeah, Aaron Holiday was signed.
Yes.
Yeah, there are 3 Holiday brothers in the league, Zach. Justin, Drew, and Aaron. It's crazy. It is very, very crazy. And again, we're talking about minimum targets here. Minimum targets.
Gary Trent Jr., Caleb Martin. I think Gary Trent gets a decent bag.
Yeah, it's interesting because there was a report that Gary Trent's market wasn't as strong as he'd hoped, saying that he might not even get the $12 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Now, I don't think he's a minimum guy. I think he's worth more than $3 million a year. But, the Sixers have $9 million left. Maybe he takes $8 million a year, and you can fill him out with that role, and he could be a guy to come off the bench for you. Could play that 2, that 3, shoot the ball. There are rumors, though, I don't know how true these are, that it's mostly from Raptors fans that I've seen on social media, that Gary Trent and Nick Nurse didn't get along.
Okay. Philly 007 said Highsmith over Precious. We weren't necessarily ranking them. We're just kind of talking about 5 players. So that wasn't really like our rankings. Cam Reddish, he opted into his player option with the Lakers. So he's not available. He's going back to LA.
Well, also, Philly, Highsmith was a player that they've been linked to. Those first 4 guys in that first segment, Caleb Martin, Marcus Morris, Haywood Highsmith, Reggie Bullock, all guys the Sixers have expressed interest in already.
Yeah, it's a different segment.
Yeah, these other 5 are guys, again, it wasn't in any particular order.
Yeah.
These other 5 were just guys that I think, me and Chase think would be worth it, for a vet min that fill a need for the Sixers.
Tanae Dotson, what about Brooke Lopez? I think the signing of Andre Drummond kind of solves your backup 5 issue to the point where you don't need a Brooke Lopez as well. So I think the Sixers are set there. And finally, Joel Embiid has a legitimate backup. All right, we will stay live if you keep us live. If anybody sends in a super chat within 2 minutes, we'll continue to chop it up with everybody. If not, we will sign off, and we'll see you tomorrow.
So interesting here. This was a report from The Athletic after Nurse got fired. So, of course, it's after Nurse gets fired. So, of course, stuff starts to come out. But this was from Shams. Nurse and the front office did not see eye to eye on player usage, especially when it came to some of the younger, less proven players. Rares, the executive coaching pair is perfectly aligned, but it was notable. Some of the coaches' relationships had frayed too. Gary Trent Jr. said after the season that he got used to the coaches' criticism coming out in the media before Nurse told him in person, and more players had issues with Nurse privately. So if that's true, then I guess Gary Trent won't come here, but we'll see.
We're happy to have him in Philadelphia, that is for sure. Most legit coach the Sixers have had since Larry Brown.
Oh, he's awesome. I absolutely love Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him.
It's good to finally know the Sixers have an elite head coach, and I'm excited to see what he can do with an elite core of players. Robert Covington, I think Robert Covington's done.
It's so tough. He had that knee injury in like December and was supposed to be back within at least a month or two and then missed the entire year. So.
Yeah. 1:17 and ticking on our 2-minute shot clock. You send in a super chat, we extend the show. We'll chop it up with you. If not, we'll sign off. We'll call it a night since we're already putting in overtime. Campaign, wouldn't hate it.
You mean Terry Johnson?
Terry Johnson. That's his new name. The name that he gave police. Hilarious joke.
I don't think
Terry
Mac,
Johnson, free him.
free Terry Johnson. Yeah, Mac, I don't think Bona's a 4. I know he's shorter, but he doesn't space the floor. He's a 5.
Eric Volpe, why do people want Simmons back? Honestly, him as a 4 on this team as an elite defender, I hate Ben Simmons. I would still be intrigued by the idea on a vet min, if he's bought out by the Nets, I would never pay him the $40 million that he's owed, though. That's my guy, pure energy, free Terry from Ace Holmes.
Jared Dudley. Dude, the Jared Dudley, Ben
He's an
Simmons
assistant,
beef,
I think, on the Mavs.
Yeah, he's a
coaching
coach
staff.
now.
Yeah.
But that Jared Dudley, Ben Simmons beef was legendary back in the day.
Jacob Beauchamp, Buddy sign and trade could be a multi-team deal. Apparently, it could be up to 5 teams.
Yeah.
I saw that from like John Hollinger, I think, of ESPN this morning.
Yeah, it's going to get wild.
Christian Wood, said to be a bad culture guy.
Yeah. I'm out on him. Can't play defense.
Can't play defense at all. Let's see. Anything else?
Reason he didn't work for the Lakers. Trust me, the Lakers are not in the business of giving up talented players.
Right.
And they let him go, so.
Yeah. All right. No super chats came in. All good, though. We wanted to go live very quickly once again. And honestly, we might just try to go live once again tomorrow. Are you in? Yeah, we might do get our NFL stuff out of the way very early and then do a later Sixers live. So let's call it, I don't know, 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Maybe we'll run it back, go live once again, because the response and the audience, it's been awesome over the last couple of days, and you're making me and Chip's job a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's an absolute blast. Where I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I can't wait to put out some Sixers content. Okay, we're gone. Enjoy your Wednesdays, your July 4th Eve. I know a lot of you aren't going to be working tomorrow. Leave that up to us. We'll be working. We'll be talking Sixers. So we hope to see you right here. Same time, same place.